The great chamber was filled with thousands of creatures. Some had scales, some had fur, and some looked like nothing that ever lived on Earth. They came from every corner of the galaxy, representing 10,000 different worlds. The chamber floated in space inside a massive station called Nexus Prime. Outside the windows, stars glittered like diamonds on black cloth. At the center of it all stood Vexthor. He was tall, covered in green scales with yellow eyes that missed nothing. He was the High Chancellor, the leader of the Galactic Council. Today he had a simple job to do. He needed to declare that humans were extinct. It had been 300 years since anyone heard from Earth. 300 long years of silence. The Council had waited patiently at first, thinking maybe humans needed time. But decades passed, then centuries. No messages came from the Sol system. No ships left Earth. The planet was dead, or so everyone believed. Vexthor looked at the holographic display floating above his podium. It showed Earth, a small blue and green planet now marked with a red X. The display also showed old images from 300 years ago. Images of fire falling from the sky. Images of cities burning. Images of a world dying. The Empire had done that. They had tried to make peaceful contact with humanity. They sent their best diplomats, their finest ships, gifts, and offers of friendship. But humans responded with violence. They destroyed the diplomatic fleet without warning. Every alien on those ships died. The Empire was angry. They sent warships to punish Earth. The bombardment lasted for 3 days. Weapons fired from orbit, turning cities into ash and mountains into glass. When it was over, the satellites showed nothing alive on the surface. No lights, no movement, nothing but smoke and fire. Vexthor cleared his throat. The chamber grew quiet. Thousands of alien eyes turned toward him. He picked up a ceremonial hammer, old and heavy, made from metal taken from the first planet the Empire ever conquered. Today, we close a sad chapter in our history, Vexthor said. His voice carried through the chamber, translated instantly into thousands of languages. The species known as humans no longer exists. We waited 3 centuries for a sign of life from Earth. We found none. By the power given to me by this council, I declare humanity extinct. He raised the hammer. In a moment, he would strike the great gong behind him. The sound would mark the end. Humanity would join the long list of species that no longer existed. But before the hammer fell, something strange happened. Every screen in the chamber flickered. The holographic displays went dark for a moment. Then they came back on, showing something nobody expected. Static filled the air, a harsh sound that made everyone uncomfortable. Then a voice cut through the noise. It was calm and clear. It spoke in perfect galactic standard, the language everyone used. But the accent was strange, old, human. "This is Captain Minsiok of the Earth Defense Coalition," the voice said. "Your declaration is premature. Humanity is very much alive, and we need to talk." Chaos exploded in the chamber. Aliens jumped from their seats. Some shouted in their native languages. Others stared at the screens in disbelief. Security officers rushed forward, trying to find the source of the transmission. Vexthor stood frozen, the hammer still raised above his head. His yellow eyes were wide with shock. In the back of the chamber, Ambassador De Jong leaned forward in his seat. He was an alien historian who loved studying extinct species. He had spent years researching what little information existed about humans. He found them fascinating. Now his hearts were beating fast. Could it be true? Could humans really be alive? Beside him sat Commander Jiwoo. She was a military officer from the Velrosian species, known across the galaxy for their warrior culture. But Jiwoo was not celebrating with the others. Her face had gone pale. She gripped the arms of her seat so hard her knuckles turned white. She remembered. 300 years ago, she had been there. She was young then, just starting her military career. She served on one of the ships that bombarded Earth. She had fired the weapons herself. For 3 centuries, she carried that weight. She told herself it was necessary, that humans attacked first, that she was just following orders. But now, hearing that voice, she felt something cold settle in her stomach. What if they survived? What if everything she believed was wrong? The transmission continued. The screens showed coordinates, numbers that pointed to the Sol system. But something was strange about them. They were not pointing to Earth's surface. They were pointing down beneath the crust, deep into the planet itself. "We have been watching you," the voice said. "We have been listening. We know your languages, your technology, your politics. We know everything about the Galactic Empire. And now we think it is time to meet again. This time on our terms. The transmission ended. The screens went back to normal. But the damage was done. The council was in complete disorder. Aliens argued with each other. Some demanded immediate action. Others called for caution. A few simply sat in silence, trying to understand what just happened. Vexthor slowly lowered the hammer. He did not strike the gong. Instead, he pressed a button on his podium. His voice boomed through the chamber, cutting through the noise. "Order! I demand order!" He waited until the chamber grew quiet again. "This session is suspended. The council will reconvene in 1 hour. Until then, no one speaks to the media. No one leaves this station. We need to verify this claim before we do anything else." As aliens filed out of the chamber, talking in hushed voices, Dae-jung remained in his seat. His mind was racing. If humans were alive, where had they been? How did they survive a bombardment that should have killed everything? And most importantly, what did they want? Ji-woo also stayed behind. She stared at her hands, remembering the day she fired those weapons. She had killed millions, maybe billions. She thought they were all gone, that her guilt was the only thing left of humanity. But now they were back. And they knew what the Empire did. She stood up slowly. Her legs felt weak. She walked to where Dae-jung sat and stood beside him, both of them looking at the empty podium where Vexthor had stood. "They survived," Dae-jung whispered. 300 years underground. Can you imagine what that took? Ji-woo closed her eyes. "I was there. I helped destroy their world. And now they are back. What do you think they want?" Dae-jung asked. Ji-woo opened her eyes and looked at him. In her eyes he saw fear and something else. "Guilt heavy and old, revenge," she said quietly. "If I were them, I would want revenge." But Dae-jung shook his head. "Maybe, or maybe they want something more. They waited 300 years to reveal themselves. That takes patience. That takes planning. Whatever they want, it is bigger than simple revenge." An hour later, the council reconvened. Vexthor stood at his podium again, but this time he looked tired. Behind him, technical specialists worked frantically, analyzing the transmission. The transmission was real, Vexthor announced. It came from Earth, from beneath the surface, approximately 5 kilometers deep. Our sensors detect massive energy signatures underground. Cities, perhaps. Power sources. Life support systems. Whatever they built down there, it is big. He paused, letting that information sink in. "We need to send a delegation to Earth. We need to see this with our own eyes. We need to understand what we are dealing with." Before anyone else could speak, Dae-jung stood up. His voice carried across the chamber. "I volunteer," he said. "I have studied humans more than anyone else in this room. Let me go. Let me talk to them." Vexthor looked at him for a long moment. Then he nodded. Ji-woo stood as well. Her voice was steady, despite the fear in her heart. "I volunteer too," she said. "I was part of the bombardment. If humans want answers, if they want someone to hold accountable, then I should be there." The council agreed. Within hours, a small team was assembled. Dae-jung would lead the diplomatic effort. Ji-woo would serve as military liaison. 3 other representatives from neutral species would join them. They would take a single ship, escorted by 1 warship for protection. As they prepared to leave Nexus Prime, Dae-jung looked back at the council chamber one last time. Everything was about to change. The Empire had believed it was alone at the top, the strongest power in the galaxy. But now there was something else out there. Something that survived the impossible. Humanity was alive, and soon the galaxy would learn what that really meant. The ship carrying the delegation left Nexus Prime 2 days after the transmission. It was a sleek diplomatic vessel, white and silver, designed to look peaceful. Behind it flew a single warship, just in case things went wrong. The journey to Earth would take 2 weeks through hyperspace. Ambassador Dae-jung spent most of his time in the ship's archive room. He pulled up every file about humans, every old record from before the bombardment. There were videos of human cities, tall buildings reaching toward the sky, pictures of human families, smiling and happy. Documents about their wars, their art, their music. Humans were strange creatures. They only lived for about 80 years, which seemed incredibly short to species that lived for centuries. They came in different colors and spoke hundreds of different languages. They fought terrible wars against each other, but they also created beautiful things. They built machines that could think. music that could make you cry, and stories that lasted forever. Dae-jung wondered what 300 years underground had done to them. Had they changed? Had they stayed the same? Were they angry, or had time healed their wounds? Commander Jiwoo had a different routine. Every day she went to the ship's training room. She exercised until her muscles burned. She practiced with weapons until her hands were sore. Physical pain was easier to deal with than the thoughts in her head. At night she dreamed. She dreamed of fire falling from the sky. She dreamed of a planet burning. She woke up with her sheets soaked in sweat, her heart's racing. The guilt was eating her alive. One evening, Dae-jung found her in the observation deck staring out at the stars rushing past. "You have not been sleeping," he said, sitting down beside her. Jiwoo did not look at him. "How can I sleep? I killed billions of them, and now I have to face the survivors." "You followed orders," Dae-jung said gently. "That does not make it right." She finally turned to look at him. Her eyes were red. "What if they want to kill me? What if they take one look at me and decide to take revenge?" Dae-jung thought about that. "Then we deal with it. But I do not think that is what they want. They could have attacked already if revenge was their goal. They have been watching us for 3 centuries. They know everything about us. If they wanted war, they would not have announced themselves first." 2 weeks passed. The ship's computer announced they were approaching the Sol system. Everyone gathered on the bridge to see Earth for the first time. The ship dropped out of hyperspace. The view screen showed the sun, burning bright and yellow. Around it orbited several planets. There was Mars, red and dusty, Jupiter, massive and striped, Saturn with its beautiful rings, and there, the third planet from the sun, was Earth. Jiwoo felt her breath catch. The planet looked exactly like it did in her memories. The surface was still scarred, still dead. Brown and gray continents covered in ash. No green, no blue oceans, just wasteland. But the sensors told a different story. The ship's computers started beeping, flooding the screen with data. Energy, readings from beneath the surface, massive amounts of power being generated underground, thermal signatures showing entire cities built inside the planet. And all around Earth in orbit there were objects. Hundreds of them. "Ships," the pilot whispered. "Those are human ships." The ships were not like anything in the Empire's fleet. They were smaller, sleeker, covered in angles and edges. Strange symbols were painted on their hulls, human writing that nobody on the delegation could read. Weapon ports lined their sides, closed for now but clearly visible. More sensors showed more objects scattered throughout the Sol system. Human stations orbited Mars and Jupiter. Satellites filled the space between planets. Mining operations dug into asteroids. The humans had not just survived. They had built an entire infrastructure while the galaxy thought they were dead. The view screen flickered. A face appeared. A human face. The man looked to be middle-aged, with dark hair starting to turn gray at the sides. His eyes were sharp and intelligent. He wore a uniform, dark blue with silver insignia on the shoulders. "Ambassador Dae-jung," the man said. His galactic standard was perfect without any accent. "I am Captain Min-seok, commander of the Earth Defense Coalition. Welcome to the Sol system. We have been expecting you." Dae-jung stepped forward. "Captain Min-seok, thank you for allowing us to come. We have many questions." Min-seok smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. "I am sure you do, and we will answer them. But first, you need to see something. You need to understand what happened here, 300 years ago." The view behind Min-seok changed, showing what looked like a command center. It was carved from solid rock, lit by blue holographic displays. People worked at stations, monitoring screens and talking quietly. Behind them, Dae-jung could see massive stone columns supporting the ceiling. "When your ships came 300 years ago, we were not ready," Min-seok said. His voice grew harder. "Your bombardment killed 8 billion people. Every city on the surface was destroyed. The sky turned black with smoke. The oceans boiled. For 3 days, fire fell from the heavens." Jiwoo closed her eyes, feeling sick. "But," Min-seok continued, "we did not all die. In the days before the bombardment, after we destroyed your diplomatic fleet, we knew you would retaliate. Every nation on Earth came together for the first time in our history. We had one goal: survival. The screen behind him changed, showing old footage. Daijung watched in amazement as millions of humans worked together, digging massive tunnels into the Earth. They used every machine they had, every resource, every bit of technology. They dug down deeper and deeper, creating caves that could hold entire cities. We moved everyone we could underground, Min Seok said. Not everyone made it. We lost billions. But 5 billion humans survived. We sealed ourselves beneath the surface and waited for the bombardment to end. The footage showed humans living in the darkness. They built farms using artificial light. They created water systems from underground rivers. They had children who grew up never seeing the sun. Generation after generation, they lived and worked underground, keeping their civilization alive. For 300 years, we stayed hidden, Min Seok said. We listened to your broadcasts. We learned your language, your culture, your technology. We studied everything about the Galactic Empire, and we prepared. Prepared for what? Daijung asked quietly. Min Seok looked directly at the camera, directly at them, to make sure it never happens again. We would not let anyone destroy Earth a second time. He paused, then his expression softened slightly. But we also learned something else. We learned that the Empire is not all evil. We saw species helping each other. We saw art and science and cooperation. We realized that maybe, just maybe, we could find a place in your galaxy. Not as victims, but as equals. That is why you revealed yourselves now? Daijung asked. Yes, we are ready now. Ready to defend ourselves if needed, but also ready to talk. We want to show you what we have built. We want to explain what happened. And we want to discuss the future. Min Seok gave them coordinates for a landing site. It was on the edge of a huge crack in the planet's surface, something called the Gateway Descent. He told them they would be safe, that humans would not harm them. As the diplomatic ship began its descent toward Earth, Jiwoo stared out the window. She could see the landing platform now, a massive structure built into the side of the chasm. And there, all along the walls of the crack, she saw weapons. Big weapons pointed up at the sky. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Railguns that could punch through ship armor. Missile batteries that could take down entire fleets. Energy weapons that glowed with barely contained power. All of them tracked the diplomatic ship as it descended. They could kill us right now, she said softly. One shot, and we would be dead. Daejung nodded. But they are not. They are inviting us in. That means something. The ship landed with a gentle bump. The landing platform was empty except for a group of humans waiting near a large door. They wore uniforms similar to Min Seok's. Some carried weapons, but they were pointed at the ground. Min Seok stood at the front of the group. As the delegation walked down the ramp, he stepped forward to greet them. He was shorter than most of the aliens, but he carried himself with confidence. "Welcome to Earth," he said. He extended his hand, a human gesture of greeting. "We have a lot to show you." Daejung took his hand carefully. It was warm, strong. "Thank you for having us, Captain." Min Seok looked at each member of the delegation. When his eyes landed on Jiwoo, they lingered for a moment. She felt like he could see right through her, could see the guilt she carried. "Come," he said finally. "Let me show you what humanity has become." He turned and walked toward the large door. It opened with a hiss, revealing a tunnel that led down into the depths of Earth. The delegation followed, leaving the dead surface behind and entering a world that should not exist. A world where humanity survived the impossible. The tunnel was smooth and wide, lit by strips of soft white light along the ceiling. The delegation followed Captain Min Seok down a gentle slope. Their footsteps echoed off the stone walls. Nobody spoke. They were all too busy trying to understand what they were seeing. After walking for 5 minutes, they reached a platform. It was a train station, built entirely from carved rock and metal. A sleek vehicle waited on the tracks, hovering slightly above them. Magnetic levitation, Daejung realized. Very efficient technology. Min Seok gestured to the vehicle. Please board, he said. We have quite a journey ahead of us. The inside of the train was comfortable. Seats lined both sides and large windows showed the tunnel outside. As the train began to move silently and smoothly, Min-seok stood at the front. We are currently 5 kilometers below the surface, he said. We are going down another 15 kilometers. That is where New Seoul is located. It is one of our largest underground cities. As the train descended, the tunnel began to change. At first there were just rough walls. Then they started seeing doors, small openings carved into the rock. Through some of them, Daejung glimpsed people, human families living in small homes, children playing in hallways, old people sitting together talking and laughing. The deeper they went, the bigger the spaces became. They passed through huge caverns where lights glowed on the walls like artificial stars. Some caverns had entire neighborhoods with streets and shops and parks. Others held massive farms where plants grew under special lights, bright purple and blue instead of yellow like the sun. Ji-woo stared at everything they passed. She had imagined humans living in darkness, struggling to survive, barely holding on. But this was different. This was organized. This was planned. This was a civilization that knew exactly what it was doing. How many humans are there now? Daejung asked. Min-seok looked at him. 7 billion. We lost 5 billion in the bombardment, but in 3 centuries our population grew. We are careful about resources, but we have not stopped living. 7 billion. The number made Daejung's head spin. That was more people than lived on most planets in the Empire. Finally, after 30 minutes of descent, the train emerged into something incredible. The tunnel opened up into a space so vast it seemed impossible. They had entered New Seoul. The city stretched in all directions, built into a massive natural cavern that had been expanded over centuries. Buildings rose from the ground, carved from rock or built with metal and glass. Streets wound between them, filled with people walking, talking, living their lives. Artificial rivers flowed through carefully designed channels, providing water and beauty. The ceiling was so high it was lost in shadows, but lights were embedded in it, creating the illusion of a sky. One of the alien delegates, a small creature with blue skin, made a sound of wonder. "This is impossible," it whispered. "How did you build this?" Min-seok smiled, and this time it was genuine. 300 years of work. 300 years of everyone working together. When you face extinction, you find strength you did not know you had. The train stopped at a station in the center of the city. As they stepped off, humans stopped to stare at the aliens. Children pointed. Adults whispered to each other. But nobody seemed afraid. They were curious, interested, but not scared. Min-seok led them through the streets. They walked past schools where children learned, past markets where people bought food and clothes, past hospitals where doctors worked. It was a functioning society, complete and complex. They arrived at a large building carved from dark stone. Guards stood at the entrance, but they stepped aside as Min-seok approached. Inside was a huge hall, circular and tall, with seats rising up the walls in rings. At the center was a platform where 5 humans waited. "The Council of Descent," Min-seok said quietly. "The leaders of Earth's 5 major territories. They wish to speak with you." The first leader stepped forward. She was a woman with sharp eyes and short black hair. She wore a simple gray uniform with red insignia. "I am Premier Hye-jin," she said. "I lead the Pacific Coalition, which includes the territories under what used to be the Pacific Ocean. Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Daejung. We have waited a long time for this meeting." The second leader was a man, older, with gray hair and a military bearing. Director Tae Yang, Atlantic Union. "We represent the territories under the Atlantic Ocean." The third was a woman with kind eyes, wearing a uniform covered in technical symbols. Chancellor Bora, Eurasian Deep. "We manage the territories under the old European and Asian continents." The fourth was a tall man with dark skin and a calm presence. "Overseer Kyung-soo, African Caverns. We represent the southern territories." And finally, Min-seok stepped forward to join them. "Captain Min-seok, Earth Defense Coalition. I command all military forces." Daejung bowed, a gesture of respect used by many species. "I am honored to meet you all. My delegation comes in peace. We wish to understand what happened here and to discuss the future." Premier Hye-jin gestured to seats arranged for the delegation. "Then let us talk. But first you must understand something. We did not reveal ourselves on a whim. We have been preparing for this moment for decades. We have a proposal for the Galactic Empire. Once everyone was seated, Chancellor Bora began to speak. She explained how humans spent the first century just surviving. They built the cities, established farms, created stable populations. The second century was spent learning. They intercepted every transmission from the Empire. They decoded languages, studied alien technology, learned about galactic politics and trade. The third century was spent preparing. They built ships. They developed weapons. They created defensive systems. They did all of this in secret, making sure no Empire sensors detected them. Why reveal yourselves now? Daejong asked. You could have stayed hidden forever, Director Taeyang answered. Because hiding forever is not living. Our children deserve to see the stars. They deserve to walk on the surface. They deserve to meet other species, to trade, to learn, to grow. We cannot give them that while hiding underground. Premier Hyojin leaned forward. We want peace with the Empire. We want to join the galactic community, but not as servants, as equals. One of the other delegates, a tall alien with green skin, spoke up. The Empire does not accept equals easily. You attacked us first 3 centuries ago. How can we trust you? Overseer Kyung-soo responded, his voice gentle but firm. We attacked because we were afraid. Your ships arrived without warning. We did not understand your intentions. We made a mistake and we paid for it with billions of lives. But we learned from that mistake. We will not strike first again. But we will defend ourselves if attacked. Ji-woo had been sitting quietly, but now she found her voice. It was hard to speak, but she knew she had to. I was there, she said. Everyone turned to look at her. 300 years ago, I was on one of the ships that bombarded your world. I fired the weapons myself. Her voice shook. I thought we were destroying a threat. I thought we were protecting the Empire. I did not know what you were building. I did not know you would survive. The council members looked at her. She expected anger, hatred, maybe violence. But instead, Overseer Kyung-soo stood and walked over to her. He knelt down so they were eye to eye. You followed orders, he said softly. You did what your leaders told you to do. We understand that. We are not seeking revenge against individual soldiers. We seek justice from the system that ordered the bombardment. We seek a promise that it will never happen again, to us or to anyone else. Tears ran down Ji-woo's face. In her species, crying was rare, but the guilt she had carried for 3 centuries felt just a little bit lighter. What do you want from the Empire? Daejong asked. Premier Hyojin stood. Recognition as a sovereign power. Access to galactic trade routes. Technology exchange on fair terms. And reparations for the bombardment, to be paid over time through resources and knowledge, not money. Chancellor Bora added, in exchange, we will share our technology. We have developed advancements in medical science, energy generation, and artificial intelligence, things that could help billions of people across the galaxy. It was a fair offer. More than fair, actually. Daejong started to smile, started to think this might actually work. Then alarms started blaring throughout the city. The sound was loud and harsh, making everyone jump. Minseok's face went pale. He grabbed a communication device from his belt and listened to a rapid report. He looked up at the delegation, his expression grave. We have a situation, he said. A fleet of Imperial warships just entered the Sol system. 50 ships. They are not responding to hails. They are moving into attack position. Premier Hyojin's expression hardened. Who authorized this? Daejong was already accessing his own communication device, calling back to the council. He listened, his face growing more worried with each second. Nobody authorized it, he said. This is a rogue fleet, led by Admiral Rikstal. He participated in the original bombardment. He must have decided to finish the job. Min-seok looked at his fellow council members. They all nodded. Without a word, they had made a decision. All civilians to the deep shelters, Min-seok ordered into his device. Then he looked at the delegation. You should probably take cover too. This is about to get very dangerous. Director Taeyang stood. No. Let them stay. Let them watch. Let them see what happens when someone tries to destroy humanity a second time. Min-seok nodded. He led everyone to a command center deeper in the building. The walls were covered with screens showing space above Earth. On those screens they could see the Imperial fleet. 50 massive warships, all charging their weapons, all pointing at Earth. Ji-woo recognized some of those ship designs. They were the same type she had served on, ships designed to destroy planets. Minseok sat at the command console. His fingers flew across the controls. On the screens, dots began appearing all around the Imperial fleet. Hundreds of dots. Human ships emerging from hiding places throughout the Sol system. The battle for Earth was about to begin. Admiral Rixtal sat in his command chair aboard the flagship Dominator. His scaled hands gripped the armrests tightly. Through the view screen, he could see Earth growing larger. That cursed planet where humans somehow survived. He had been there 300 years ago, one of the junior officers who fired the first bombardment. He remembered the satisfaction he felt watching the cities burn. The Empire had shown humanity what happened when you attacked their ships, but now they were back. Impossible yet true. The Council wanted to negotiate, to talk. Rixtal knew better. Humans were dangerous. They destroyed the diplomatic fleet without warning. If they survived the bombardment, they would want revenge. They would become a threat to the entire Empire. So he gathered ships from commanders who thought like him. 50 warships, enough to crack a planet. They followed him without question. The Council had not authorized this attack, but Rixtal did not care. Sometimes leaders had to make hard decisions. Charge all weapons, he ordered. Target the surface. We will finish what we started. His weapons officer looked uncertain. Admiral, we have not received authorization from the Council. Should we not wait? Rixtal's eyes flashed with anger. The Council is weak. They will talk until humans build enough ships to threaten us all. We act now. Fire when ready. Deep underground in New Sol. Captain Minseok watched his screens. The Imperial fleet was moving into position. Their weapons were charging. He had minutes, maybe less. All defense forces activate, he said calmly into his communicator. Operation Guardian begins now. Throughout the Sol system, human ships that had been hiding began to move. They emerged from behind asteroids where they had waited for years. They uncloaked from behind the dark side of planets. They powered up from cold running mode, becoming visible to sensors. The Imperial fleet's sensors started screaming warnings. 1 contact, 10 contacts, 50 contacts, 100. The numbers kept climbing. Admiral, we have multiple contacts, the sensor officer shouted. They are everywhere. Hundreds of ships. Rixtal stared at the tactical display. Red dots surrounded his fleet. Human ships, smaller than his warships but vastly outnumbering them. How did they build so many ships without anyone noticing? It does not matter, he growled. Our ships are bigger, stronger. They cannot hurt us. All ships open fire on the planet. Massive energy beams lance down toward Earth. The same weapons that destroyed the surface 3 centuries ago fired again. Enough power to boil oceans and melt mountains. But this time Earth was ready. Defensive shields powered up from emplacements hidden across the dead surface. Energy barriers absorbed the bombardment. The beams that got through hit nothing but empty wasteland. Minseok smiled. They expected us to be defenseless. Show them what happens when you attack Earth twice. The human fleet moved. Their ships did not charge straight at the Imperial fleet like traditional tactics would suggest. Instead, they scattered, moving in unpredictable patterns. Then they vanished. Where did they go? Rixtal demanded. The sensor officer frantically worked his console. They are using some kind of short-range teleportation. They keep appearing and disappearing. A human ship appeared directly behind one of the Imperial cruisers. It fired a railgun, a simple kinetic weapon that launched metal slugs at incredible speed. The projectile punched through the cruiser's shield and tore into its engines. The cruiser went dark, drifting and powerless. Another human ship appeared above a destroyer. It launched missiles, dozens of them working together like a swarm of insects. The destroyer's point defense systems tried to shoot them down, but the missiles were too fast, too coordinated. Half of them got through, exploding against the hull and ripping it open. In the command center, the delegation watched in stunned silence. Ambassador Daejung could not believe what he was seeing. Human technology was far more advanced than anyone realized. These ships moved like nothing in the Imperial fleet. Their weapons hit harder than anything he had seen. Commander Jiwoo felt cold. She recognized those Imperial ship designs. She knew how strong their shields were, how thick their armor was. She had trained on those systems. Watching human weapons tear through them so easily was terrifying. They are destroying the fleet, she whispered. In minutes, they are destroying 50 warships. Director Tae Yang stood beside them, watching the battle. We learned from you. 300 years ago, you showed us what orbital bombardment could do. So we spent 3 centuries making sure it would never work on us again. On the Dominator, alarms were blaring. Ship after ship in Rixtal's fleet was going dark. His forces were being torn apart. "Return fire," he screamed. "Destroy them all." But the human ships were too fast. They appeared, fired, and vanished before the Imperial weapons could lock on. When the Imperial ships did manage to hit a human vessel, their shields absorbed most of the damage. The few human ships that were destroyed took many Imperial ships with them. Jiwoo suddenly stood up. She pulled out her communication device and started entering codes. Minseok looked at her. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Saving lives," she answered. "I still have access to some military channels. Old codes that might still work." She sent a message on emergency military frequencies, using authentication codes from 300 years ago, codes that some ships might still recognize. The message was simple: stand down. This attack was not authorized. Surrender, and you will be treated fairly. On 3 of the Imperial ships, junior officers received the message. They recognized the codes. They knew Commander Jiwoo's name from military history, and they were tired of watching their comrades die in an unauthorized attack. The 3 ships powered down their weapons. They broke formation and stopped firing. It was not much, but it was enough. Other ships saw them surrender. Doubt spread through the fleet. Rixtal saw his fleet falling apart. "Traitors," he snarled. He would deal with them later. Right now he had one option left. If he could not bombard the surface into submission, he would use brute force. He would fire everything he had at the gateway descent, the main entrance to New Seoul. The seismic shock alone might collapse the underground cities. "All power to forward weapons," he commanded. "Target those coordinates. Full power. Everything we have." The Dominator's weapons began to glow, gathering massive amounts of energy. This shot would drain the ship's power reserves completely, but it would be worth it. One shot to cripple humanity forever. Minseok saw the Dominator charging its weapons. He saw where it was aiming. He had seconds to respond. "Activate the planetary defense batteries," he said quietly. On Earth's surface, sections of scorched ground began to move. Hidden doors slid open. From deep within the planet, massive weapons emerged. Railguns the size of buildings built into the crust itself. They had been there for 300 years, waiting. The delegation stared at the screens. Even Daejung, who had been impressed by everything he had seen, felt his breath catch. These weapons were enormous. One shot from them could destroy anything. "Target the flagship," Minseok ordered. "Fire." The planetary railgun fired. A projectile accelerated by magnetic fields, moving at a significant fraction of light speed. It crossed the distance between Earth and the Dominator in less than a second. The Dominator's shields, already weakened from battle, collapsed instantly. The projectile punched through the hull like it was paper. It passed completely through the ship, creating a hole 30 meters wide. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Dominator began to break apart. Secondary explosions rippled through the hull. The ship that had led the attack on Earth was dying. Rixtal had time for one last thought before the command deck exploded around him. He had underestimated humans. They were not victims anymore. They were warriors. With their admiral dead and their flagship destroyed, the remaining Imperial ships lost all will to fight. One by one, they powered down their weapons and signaled surrender. The 3 ships that Jiwoo had convinced to stand down moved to help secure the others. The battle was over. Earth had won, not through luck, not through desperation, but through superior technology and careful planning. 300 years of preparation had paid off. Minseok let out a slow breath. He had been ready for this battle since the day he joined the Defense Coalition as a young man. Now it was done. "Secure the surrendered ships," he ordered. "Treat the crews well." They were following orders, even if those orders were wrong. He turned to the delegation. Ambassador Daejung looked shaken. The other aliens were pale, frightened. But Jiwoo had tears running down her face again. "Thank you," Minseok said to her. "You saved lives today." Both human and alien, Jiwoo could not speak. She just nodded. Daejung found his voice. "The Council needs to know what happened here. They need to know how powerful humanity has become." Minseok nodded. "Yes, they do. Because this changes everything." Premier Hyejin stepped forward. "We did not want this battle. We wanted peace. But we will defend ourselves. The Empire needs to understand that." Daejung activated his communicator. He was already connecting to Nexus Prime, to the Galactic Council. High Chancellor Vexthor appeared on the screen. his scaled face tight with concern. Ambassador, report. We detected a battle in the Sol system. Dae Jung chose his words carefully. Admiral Rixtel attacked Earth without authorization. His fleet has been defeated. Humanity defended itself. High Chancellor, we need an emergency session of the Council. The situation has changed dramatically. Vexthor was silent for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. The Council will convene immediately. Bring the human leaders if they are willing to come. It is time we had a proper conversation. The transmission ended. Everyone in the command center was quiet. They all knew what this meant. Earth had proven it could fight. Now came the harder part, proving it could make peace. 3 weeks after the battle, Captain Min Seok stood on a human ship approaching Nexus Prime. It was the first time he had ever left the Sol system. The first time he had seen the galaxy beyond Earth's sensors and telescopes. Behind him stood the other members of Earth's Council of Descent. Premier He Jin, Director Tai Yang, Chancellor Bo Ra, and Overseer Kyung Soo. They all wore formal uniforms, dark blue with silver insignia. They looked calm, but Min Seok knew they were as nervous as he was. This was humanity's first official appearance before the Galactic Council. Everything they did today would shape Earth's future for centuries to come. Ambassador Dae Jung met them at the docking bay. He bowed deeply, a gesture of respect he had learned from studying human culture. Welcome to Nexus Prime, he said. The Council is waiting. I must warn you, not everyone is happy about this meeting. Some species see your victory as a threat. Premier He Jin smiled. We expected that. Fear is natural when facing something new. We just need to show them we are not their enemy. Commander Jiwoo was also there. She had been given a new position, military liaison between Earth and the Empire. She stood beside Dae Jung, looking proud despite the complicated feelings she still carried. The walk to the council chamber was long. Aliens stopped to stare at the humans. Some whispered to each other. Some looked afraid. But many looked curious, interested in these strange creatures who survived the impossible. The council chamber was even more impressive than the videos had shown. Thousands of seats rising up the walls. Representatives from countless worlds all gathered in one place. And at the center, High Chancellor Vexthor waited on his podium. The chamber fell silent as the humans entered. All eyes turned to watch them walk to the speaker's platform. Min Seok could feel the weight of those stares, the fear and curiosity and wonder. Vexthor spoke first. His voice carried through the chamber. Members of the Galactic Council, today we face a historic moment. Humanity, believed extinct for 3 centuries, has returned. They have shown they can defend themselves. The question before us now is simple. What kind of relationship will we have with them? He gestured to Min Seok. Captain, the Council will hear your words. Min Seok stepped forward. He had practiced this speech for weeks, but now that the moment was here, he decided to speak from his heart instead. 300 years ago, the Empire tried to destroy my species. You killed 8 billion people. You burned our world. You left nothing but ash and death. The chamber was absolutely silent. Every being listened, but we did not die. We dug into the earth. We built cities in the darkness. We raised our children without ever seeing the sun. We survived because we refused to give up. We survived because we are human, and humans do not quit. He paused, looking around the chamber. We could have used those 300 years to plan revenge. We could have built weapons to destroy every world in the Empire. We had the time. We had the motivation. But we did not. Instead, we listened. We learned. We studied your cultures, your languages, your technology. And we realized something important. The Empire that destroyed Earth was afraid. You attacked because you did not understand us. We attacked your diplomatic fleet because we did not understand you. It was a tragedy born from ignorance and fear. Premier He Jin stepped forward to join him. We do not want revenge. We want recognition. We want to join the galactic community as equals. We have technology to share, knowledge to exchange, and perspectives that might help solve problems the Empire faces. A delegate from one of the militant species stood up. How can we trust you? You destroyed an Imperial fleet. You have weapons that can threaten any world. Why should we believe you come in peace? Director Tae Yang answered. We did not start that battle. Admiral Rixtel attacked us without authorization. We defended ourselves. If we wanted war, we would have destroyed every ship in his fleet. Instead, we accepted their surrender. We are treating the prisoners well. We are returning them to you unharmed, Chancellor Bora added. We have prepared a demonstration of our peaceful intentions. She activated a holographic display. These are medical advances we have developed. Treatments for diseases that affect dozens of species in the Empire. We are offering this knowledge freely. No cost, no strings attached. This is what we want to share with the galaxy. The display showed treatments for genetic disorders, cancer therapies, regenerative medicine techniques, things that could save millions of lives. The council members leaned forward, studying the information with interest. Overseer Kyung-soo spoke next. His voice was gentle but firm. We know what it is like to suffer. We know what it is like to lose everything. Because of that, we never want to see another species go through what we went through. We want to be part of something better, something that does not destroy worlds out of fear. Ambassador Dae-jung stood from his seat. He had been given permission to speak on behalf of the delegation that visited Earth. I have seen their cities. I have met their people. I have watched how they live. The Council should know that humans have built something remarkable underground. They have maintained their culture, their art, their compassion. They did not become monsters in the darkness. They became stronger, wiser, more united. Ji-woo stood as well. I was part of the bombardment 300 years ago. I carried guilt for centuries, believing I helped commit genocide. But when I met the humans, they did not seek revenge against me. They showed me understanding and compassion. That tells you everything you need to know about them. Vexthor listened to everything carefully. He was a politician, skilled at reading the room. He could see that opinion was shifting. Many council members were starting to look at humans not as threats, but as potential allies. The council will vote, Vexthor announced. The question is simple. Do we recognize humanity as a sovereign power with full rights and responsibilities? Do we welcome them into the galactic community? The vote began. It took nearly an hour as thousands of representatives cast their decisions. Some voted against, still fearful of human power, but many more voted in favor, swayed by the speeches and the demonstration of peaceful intentions. Finally, the results appeared on the main display. 68% in favor. Humanity was officially recognized. The chamber erupted in mixed reactions. Some cheered. Others protested. But the decision was made. Earth was no longer a dead world. The Sol system was now sovereign territory. Humans could trade, travel, and participate in galactic affairs. Min Seok felt emotion surge through him. 300 years of hiding. 300 years of preparation. And now finally, humanity could step into the light again. The next weeks were busy with negotiations. Treaties were signed. Trade agreements were established. Human ambassadors were assigned to work with various species. Ji-woo officially resigned from the Imperial military to become Earth's first military liaison, a bridge between two civilizations. Dae-jung became the Empire's official ambassador to Earth. He moved to New Seoul, where he spent his days learning about human culture and helping negotiate the countless small agreements needed to integrate a new species into galactic society. Min Seok was promoted. He was no longer just a captain. He became Admiral Min Seok, commander of all Earth's external forces. But he also took on a new role. He would lead humanity's first exploratory missions beyond the Sol system. Earth was done hiding. It was time to see the galaxy. 1 year after the vote, something remarkable happened. The first Earth surface reclamation project began. Human engineers working with alien specialists who understood terraforming started the long process of healing the planet. It would take centuries. The damage was severe. But slowly, carefully, they began. Special bacteria were introduced to break down toxins in the soil. Seeds were planted in specially prepared ground. Water purification systems started cleaning the contaminated oceans. On the 1-year anniversary of the council vote, Admiral Min Seok stood on Earth's surface for the first time in his life. He was 43 years old and had never breathed real air or felt genuine sunlight until this moment. He wore a protective suit. The atmosphere was not quite breathable yet. But he could feel the warmth of the sun through the material. He could see the sky, truly see it, not through screens or sensors but with his own eyes. Ambassador Dae-jung stood beside him, also in a protective suit. Ji-woo was there too. The three of them had become friends, bonded by the crisis they had survived together. Above them, ships patrolled, both human and alien vessels working together in a joint defense network. Earth's moon had been renamed Hope. A new space station orbited on the other side called Unity. Do you think we will make it? Jiwoo asked quietly. Humans and the Empire working together? Min-seok thought about that question. He looked out at the scorched landscape, already showing the first tiny signs of green where the reclamation work had begun. 300 years ago, you tried to kill us. We survived. Today we stand as equals. Tomorrow, he smiled. Tomorrow we will see what humanity and the galaxy can build together. Daejong added. The Empire declared humans extinct. Humanity said try again. And here we are. If that is not proof that anything is possible, I do not know what is. In the distance, they could see a group of children approaching. The first human children born on the surface since the bombardment. They wore protective suits too, but they ran and played freely, exploring the partially reclaimed landscape. One of the children, a girl about 10 years old, ran up to them. She had never seen aliens before. She looked at Daejong and Jiwoo with wide, curious eyes. Are you from the stars? She asked. Daejong knelt down to her level. Yes. And your people will travel to the stars too very soon. You will see worlds you cannot imagine. The girl smiled. My teacher says we are the generation that will walk on other planets. Is that true? Min-seok answered, it is true. You and your friends will be the first humans to see what the galaxy really looks like. Not through screens, but with your own eyes. The girl ran back to her friends, excited to share what she had learned. The three adults watched her go. That is why we did all of this, Min-seok said, for them, so they could have a future beyond the darkness. In orbit above Earth, construction crews were building something special, a monument designed jointly by human and alien architects. It was massive, visible from the surface even with the naked eye. The monument had two parts. One half honored the 8 billion humans who died in the bombardment. Their names, every single one that could be recovered from old records, were inscribed in the metal. It would take years to visit them all. The other half celebrated the survivors. It showed images of the underground cities, the people who built them, the children who grew up in the darkness. It was a testament to human resilience and determination. And in the center, visible from both Earth and space, were 3 simple words in every human language and in galactic standard. We endure. We adapt. We survive. Min-seok looked up at the monument, still under construction but already impressive. That is our message to the galaxy. Not a threat, just a truth. Jiwoo put her hand on his shoulder. And the galaxy is listening. Daejong smiled. A new dawn rises for both our peoples. Let us make sure it is a bright one. The 3 friends stood together, watching the sun move across the sky. Around them, work continued. Ships landed and took off. Engineers worked on reclamation projects. Children played in suits that protected them from the harsh environment. Humanity had emerged from the depths. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, other species watched and wondered. If humans could survive the impossible, what else was possible? What other miracles waited to be discovered? The answer, as humanity had proven, was simple. Anything was possible. You just had to refuse to give up. You just had to endure, adapt, and survive. And humanity was very, very good at surviving. The end.